going to try my best to avoid making enemies in this video today. Which is better, Squarespace or WordPress? A contentious topic, and I've got a strong opinion on it. We'll discuss it today. On this channel, I talk a lot about websites, personal branding, social media platforms, email marketing, and so much more. Always practical advice to look good online. If these are topics that interest you, I'd love to have you around here a little more often. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell to be notified when I post next. Now, let's talk all about which is better, Squarespace versus WordPress. Today I'm in Tulum, and I recently spotted in a Facebook group that I'm in this post. He says, I'm thinking of switching to WordPress from Squarespace. What are the pros and the cons? Now, I should preface that this Facebook group is for Squarespace users. There are some strong opinions on both sides of this argument, and here are a few more comments that stood out to me. Tim says, I gave WordPress a spin and wanted to drag my head against barbed wire. Went to Squarespace instead. Meanwhile, Dean says, no comparison between the two platforms. WordPress hands down, big ecosystem of plugins and can do what you need for it to do, small or big. I told you, divided opinions, and I'm curious to know which side of this argument you are on. Comment below if you've got a preference or if you're also deciding too. In this video, I'm going to break down some things into 4 considerations that we'll explore together: purpose, customization, design, and ease of use. And I promise to choose a winner by the end of this video. Let's start with consideration number 1, purpose. What is the purpose of your website? How are you using it? How does it function? What does it serve for? This is probably the most important question to ask. Are you building a website as a portfolio where you might be showcasing your work, services, ideas, or contact details? I'd consider this a portfolio, and different variations of that could be a freelancer, an agency, an office, a musician, or even a wedding. In those instances, I think Squarespace is the winner. Here's why. In the instances I've named, your business comes before your website. What you do to make a living is of prime importance. Squarespace is much easier to set up than WordPress. There's not a huge learning curve on Squarespace. How do I know this? Because I've built websites for hundreds of people who do something for a living that isn't making websites. Creators, consultants, coaches, food brands, beverage brands, creatives, realtors, interior designers, and many others. I've taught all of those people how to manage and maintain their own website themselves without touching a line of code in about 45 minutes. If you're curious to see any of those projects, check out my projects on my website at philpallen.co/projects. There are lots there for inspiration, and I hope you like it. And I included a link to that below down in the description. Still on this topic of purpose, there are a few groups that I have excluded. First, bloggers. Now, not to say that bloggers can't be on Squarespace, but real bloggers are on WordPress. Sorry, but it's a fact. WordPress was originally designed for bloggers, and it's perfect for them. WordPress sites can be optimized for search engines, SEO, in a much more comprehensive way than Squarespace offers, and that matters for bloggers. I would argue that it matters for everyone, but it's everything for bloggers. It is their livelihood. I should also mention that on WordPress, bloggers can have a sidebar, normally something bloggers want, whereas on Squarespace, you cannot unless you use a paid plugin workaround. I've pasted the link to that paid Squarespace plugin below if you are interested. I've also excluded developers or coders. If you know how to code, you might prefer WordPress's endless plugins and possibilities. I, however, manage developers and coders. I know the basics, but I find it much more challenging to get the desired outcome that I want on WordPress than on Squarespace. It also takes less time and less money to do what I need to do on Squarespace, and that's why I'm a fan. I do not like having to be responsible to update the platform and update the plugins, and if you don't update them, there can be problems with functionality, even security, and most people are not equipped to handle or troubleshoot those. So that's why people like me stay on Squarespace, where that's never an issue. I've also excluded e-commerce because I need to clarify a few things. If you're a business whose livelihood is entirely dependent on selling products through your website, I don't think you should be on WordPress or Squarespace. Small businesses with a few number of products or SKUs totally fine. WordPress with a plugin like WooCommerce or something similar, or Squarespace Commerce, which I use to sell my courses, a digital product. It's amazing. But any more products or SKUs than just a handful, you probably are going to want to explore Shopify. This particular video is not about Shopify, so I am going to move on. What is the purpose of your website? That's the question. I've given you a few examples. Let's move on to the next category for discussion. Consideration number 2, customization. Came up a few seconds ago. Here's what you need to know. Squarespace is a better platform for users who require a well-designed but simple website delivered without fuss. You can build it yourself. That's the audience they target, and I would argue that Squarespace even more so is designed for people like me who know the platform well and who know how to customize things and make it truly a custom experience for their clients. If you don't code and you're short on time, do not try and build your own website on WordPress. That's like me trying to build my own house, even though if I stepped inside Home Depot, I wouldn't even know what aisle to start on. Now that that is out of the way, the customization award does go to WordPress in this case. There's a variety like no other for plugins, paid and free, and it adds functionality to your website. If what I'm saying in this case resonates well, then WordPress might be a good consideration for you if you like endless possibilities. My last point on customization, to play devil's advocate, I actually think limitations and parameters are sometimes a blessing. In the case of Squarespace, less options means that you can make decisions quicker, launch a website that's good enough, and then work hard to constantly make that website better instead of being paralyzed by every direction that you could go in when it comes to plugins. Just my 2 cents. Let's talk next about consideration number 3, design. The design of Squarespace is so much better than WordPress. WordPress? Squarespace. Objectively, I can say that WordPress is the ugliest thing in the universe. Objectively. That's all I have to say on that topic. Finally, consideration number 4, ease of use. You saw a peek just a second ago at how the dashboards look. In Squarespace, it's easy to use. It's well organized so you can find what you need quickly, from design settings to marketing functionality, analytics, and support. Editing content is just as simple. You click on pages and navigate to the page or post or gallery that you want to update. Once you update it, that change is made live. This is normally not the case in WordPress unless you're using a platform like Elementor. Any update that you make in WordPress, normally on the back end, must be published live. And it's not as simple, but you can definitely customize a workflow if you have time to suit your needs in that case. WordPress, there are millions of plugins that might be perfect for your niche or your business. You can't access as many on Squarespace. That's definitely an advantage I mentioned for WordPress, but it takes more time. Can a WordPress website be easy to maintain? Relatively, yes, if it's all set up for you. It is not easy to build, especially on your own. You need to hire someone who's more experienced if you're going to go that route. So I was going to do this dramatic tally at the end of this video and try to remain as objective as possible, but I think I made it clear which one I'm more biased towards, which platform gets my votes. That is Squarespace. I seriously love this platform. If you're thinking of starting your own website, I've pasted a link below for you to get started. It's my affiliate link, which means I make a small commission at no additional cost to you if you move forward. And if you do, thanks. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below and share a little bit about your situation. Do you have a strong preference for WordPress or for Squarespace? Are you trying to decide which platform to build your site on? Do share. I keep an eye on those comments personally. We can keep the conversation going down there. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate a like and consider subscribing for more of my videos here on YouTube, where I discuss personal branding, Squarespace, social media, practical advice to look good online. Next, I'm linking you through to some videos that I think you'll find helpful, including my comprehensive Squarespace tutorial. That video is coming up next.